All right, I tried, but I can't get it on the screen. But first of all, I want to talk about a couple of things. But the first thing is this: last night, obviously, you had the Pacheco Steve Nelson fight. It was a sleeper, but it was a good fight because it was these guys were on two sides of the same coin. You had the young dude who was undefeated in Hungary. You had the older guy who was a late bloomer, undefeated in Hungary, and they both fought that type of fight. That was a rite of passage fight for Diego Pacheco because he was fighting against a grown man who did not come to lay down. Who he was in the fight the whole fight. He had a game plan, and at the end of the day, the difference in experience versus heart is what that fight was. You know what I mean? To like truthfully, not on some like Tank Davis versus Frank Martin where it's like experience versus stronger. No. This is really a grown man versus like a young kid, and it was a great fight. You know what I mean? But what I want to talk about is that kind of, but also because I don't think anybody expected to go any other way. You know what I mean? The cards decision was wide and stuff, whatever. But the Andy Cruz fight, people have been harassing Keyshawn Davis about Andy Cruz ever since the amateurs and stuff like that. First of all, Andy Cruz fought against Salcido last night, and he was getting touched. That's the first thing. Okay, he gets touched a lot. And the guy, it was a lot of David Benavidez, like their stablemates fighting like yesterday on the card. But the guy was touching him up, although he was getting controlled and moved around. He definitely lost. He got cooked for sure. He was touching Andy Cruz, right? And I think that Keyshawn Davis stops Andy Cruz. First of all, I think that he's too strong for him in the pros, and I think that Andy Cruz is just not ready. And I couldn't get a screenshot of this, but yesterday, during the broadcast, Chris Mannix put his 135-pound rankings on the screen, and these were disgusting. I'm not gonna lie, only because you had people who never fought for a belt above Shakur Stevenson. You had, and Andy Cruz, who's 5-0, is like 4-0 is number seven on the list, which is crazy. They got Tevin Farmer. Well, I mean, 135. I don't know how deep it is right now, but the list is pretty nasty because, in my opinion, definitely put Shakur over William Zepeda. Definitely put Keyshawn and Dennis Baranchik over William Zepeda. You got Loma up there who's retired and he got 3 losses, even though we know he's a pound for pound great fighter as of right now. No, you know what I mean? And I understand the caliber of opponents that he did lose to, aside from the Teofimo Lopez fight, because he did have that injury in his shoulder in that fight. But you got Tank Davis at number 1, Vasil, and to me, Tank Davis being number 1 as far as popularity goes, cool. But as far as like skill for skill, I can't put him number 1 because we don't know. It's similar to the Bud Crawford Errol Spence situation where, look, Bud Crawford was such a high. He was so much more skilled than his competition, but he wasn't as popular. But him and Errol Spence would interchange between 1 and 2 on almost everybody's list for 147. You know what I mean? I put Shakur at number 1. I put Tank at number 2 because Shakur has been a champion in multiple weight divisions, and to be honest, as far as his skills go, he's one of the most skillful guys in the division. He just lacks that one punch power that Gervonta Davis has. But with Gervonta Davis's resume being what it is, I can't put him at number 1. And the reason why I say that is because he put together fights with people that were popular and stuff like that, like Rolly, popular for talking a lot of trash. He's kind of a meme. The Ryan fight where it's like, we know Ryan is not that great of a boxer. He does pack a punch, but he had him on a rehydration clause. So he fought the real Ryan Garcia on an even playing field, made him quit. And you know what I mean? In between that, you got Hector Luis Garcia. He never fought Loma. He never fought Devin. He never fought Shakur. When it was their turn, he never fought for any real belts. He was a super champion. I think was like the highest that he went was a super champion, but he never was a champion at 135 because the belts passed around everybody, and he's undefeated, but everybody else got all the real belts, fought for undisputed, all that around him. He never jumped in. Shakur was always in the mix when it came to the belts in his weight division. He unified. He moved up. It became he's a champion at 135. And you got people who are ducking the unification fights, ducking. It's nasty work. I gotta put Shakur number one. I gotta put Tank number two. And from there, I would have moved Keyshawn higher on my list, but anyways, I got to put Shakur number one, Tank number two. I think I stopped at Shakur Stevenson. So then after that, you got Dennis Berinchik, Keyshawn Davis. Dennis Berinchik is 5, Keyshawn is 6. I think that I can see that because, they're about to fight for a belt. So I feel you. Personally, I believe that champions should be higher on the list. In my opinion, like I said, Loma is retired. I would move Dennis Berinchik up. He's a champion in his weight class. How are you a champion in your weight class, but you're the 5th best fighter in your weight class? It happens sometimes. Like if you get a belt passed down to you, you never defended it, things like that. I feel you, but at the same time, if we got dudes on here with 30 wins, 32 wins, never fought for a belt, duck unification fights, it's just overall nasty work. You know what I mean? Then after Keyshawn, you got Andy Cruz. Like I see what they're trying to do to put it to where it's like, okay, we want Andy Cruz and I understand, but Andy Cruz, look, he came from Cuba, so it took him some time to be able to be pro out here. I feel you. You know what I mean? And he's 4-0. He got 2 KOs. But even with his latest performance, it wasn't his best performance. Some people, they say it was his best performance. And if that's his best performance where he's getting touched up by these guys and stuff like that, I think Keyshawn stops him handily. And then you got Raymond Murataya, Frank Martin, Tevin Farmer at the bottom. I feel as though he was just kind of having a bit of an afterthought with that list. But Shakur, it was a good broadcast last night because you finally got an active fighter commentating, doing the blow-by-blow commentating, not speaking on the politics, not speaking all the kind of the annoying shit that we hear during for the commentary jobs. He was just speaking on the fight, doing a very good job of informing the crowd of what was going on, what the guy is looking for, putting us in the head of the fighter, right? But listen, this piece, and I hope it comes through, this piece right here, what he was saying, this audio of him reacting to the list was I think that is important. I kind of wanted to cover it.
135-pound rankings right now. And I would say this first. The only reason I have you at 4 below Zapain is you haven't been at 35 as long as Zapain. It's not a pound-for-pound list. His ranking's 135 pounds. What do you think of that?
It's not a pound-for-pound list. It's 135-pound rankings. So his justification for putting him at 4 doesn't even make sense, for 1. And 2, I promise you they didn't expect to have these people like Sean Porter and Shakur pull up, because the only reason why that this conversation even happened was because Sergio Mora lost his voice. He did not expect to have to explain his list to Shakur Stevenson's face. He was there, Shakur was there, but he didn't expect to have to justify his stupid list to Shakur's face. So now you got a dumb list and you got to explain it. And now let me see what Shakur said.
I completely disagree with that. I like your list, but I'm a 3-division champion. Zepeda has never fought for a belt. He had plenty of opportunity to fight for a world title. He kind of ducked the opportunity several times. So
he did.
To put him over me, I just fully disagree.
It's sacrilegious is what it is, Shakur. It's disrespectful, and it shouldn't have been done.
I forgot what that list looked like, and as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh, God.
So he instantly cops a plea and says, I forgot what my list even looked like. How long ago did you make this list? Did you just randomly, what do you mean you forgot what your list looked like? You are a journalist. I promise you wrote everything down. You took your notes. You did this. And that list was because your plan was to try to politic against, I understand you want to put certain fighters at the top because, you know what I mean? You got to make sure the hope list is covered. You know, you got to make sure that your list is, you're trying to downplay how good Shakur is. You're trying to downplay and push a narrative through your rankings. Because then what's the point of your ranking if it has no meaning as far as, okay, it's not a pound for pound. It's not based on who's winning the belts. You just put together a list of random people. That doesn't even make sense. DAZN, you're showing your ass again. The media is showing their ass again. You telling me you put together a list that has no merit to where you just instantly disregard your own list as soon as he's right there next to you, having to react, you having to react to, you know what I mean, and listen to what he said. That doesn't even add up or make sense. That doesn't make sense. So, anyways, again, last night the broadcast was fire because of a lot of unexpected guests, but it was just that list and some of the things within that broadcast rubbed me the wrong way. The fights were good. But again, just another one of those tricks where I'll be trying to tell y'all, man, they try to prop these guys up in front of you, but they've never done anything. You know what I mean? They never did anything. Having Williams Zepeda over him, he never even fought for a belt. Ducked the fight for a belt on multiple occasions. And you got him over Shakur Stevenson, who's a 3-division champion. That doesn't even make sense. That's like when they erased Lomachenko's loss on ESPN and put him over Andre Ward and Bud Crawford with like 11 wins. Everybody was like, what? You know what I mean? You can't be serious. There's no way you're serious. So leave your thoughts on that list. Leave your thoughts on the reaction. And again, the reason why I come at it the way I come at it is because I'm just tired of people making these conversations about everything outside of boxing, which is what it's supposed to be about. Not about what Tank's hair looks like or how great your Glorious King looks. You know what I mean? His tattoos. We don't give a fuck about that. Who is winning their fights, getting the belts? That's what matters in the sport. As far as all the other shit, it doesn't matter. You got people cheating in the sport. You got people doing a shitty job covering the sport. It's overall nasty work. And I honestly can't let that shit go unnoticed. And I can't let that shit go by because it makes me sick to my stomach to hear some of the weird shit that people say during these broadcasts, all the way back to when, again, and it's funny how Shakur, Bud, you know, Dev are always on the end of these weird narratives, but they're also some of the realest niggas in the sport. When I think it was Mark Kriegel said, you know, how is Shakur gonna be like basically how is he gonna make a lot of money as a boxer while being black and not playing the villain? You know what I mean? It's little tidbits of things in commentary that tell you a whole lot about the story behind why you see a lot of the weird shit you see in the sport in the first place. Pay attention. Don't get lost in the sauce. I'll catch you next video, man. I'm gone.